he fought under General Shelby in the Civil War. So that's how we go back 100 years, back from the 1800s back. If he was like 21, 22 years old, his mother had to be 20 when she had him. So that goes back like almost 50 years. So that's 200 right there. So
talk about time, huh?
yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna start. It is March 17th, 2014. My name is Katie Lutz, and I am interviewing Rosalio Duran in his home in Austin, Texas. This is for Voces, Oral History Project's Voting Rights Acts collection at UT. Mr. Duran, thank you for taking part in the interview. I'm going to start with a few childhood questions just about your time growing up in Austin. So, could you tell me what it was like growing up in Austin?
Well, during my growing up years well, in my case, things were kind of easy because my folks have always been able to make a good living in order to feed and clothe and send me and my three sisters to school. But it wasn't all that easy for a lot of people because that was during the Depression also that people had a hard time. And in the store that we had, a lot of the people, my dad and my grandmas and everybody, they used to give everybody food. And in return, they would bring vegetables, eggs, chickens, and what have you, in return for the food that my folks had given them. The big garden in Go Valley area used to serve a lot of people also. But during that time, the schools were all like segregated. And the school I went to was Zavala School, and it was all Latinos. Latinos was all. And from what I understand years later, that we didn't have the best teachers. That really kind of made me mad, because maybe that's the reason I wasn't very bright.
What about the teachers? Why weren't they considered good teachers? Why weren't your teachers considered good teachers?
Well, some of them didn't have any, at that time, some of them didn't even have degrees from college. And they put them out there to teach because they had the time, and they knew how to read, but that was about it. And they didn't have the knowledge to teach kids like they were supposed to.
So you graduated high school in the 12th grade, and your school was segregated. What was it like at a segregated school?
Well, we had a few Mexicans or Latins in high school, but not a whole lot of them during those years, and no blacks. All the blacks, in which the neighborhood that I live in was predominantly black, and they went to a different school, but they were all, a lot of those blacks that lived in my area they were very good athletes in sports, that some of them made the pro leagues at that time. And in high school, they had Anderson High School was one of the best football teams in Texas. They just defeated everybody. And one of the best runners in that school at that time was Charlie Bonner, was a good friend of mine that lived in my neighborhood.
So did most of your childhood friends attend the same high school as you?
Yeah.
And what kind of hopes do you think your parents had for you and for your future? Did they want you to go to college, or was that an option at this time?
Well, my mother did, but my mother died at a very early age. She was 41 when she died, and I was like 17 or 18. And that kind of ended most of my schooling right there, because she was the one that pushed us, pushed me rather than, because I didn't learn very much in grammar school.
What did your mother die of?
Well, that natural causes, hard work. We used to have a lot of different things to work at. Like we used to sell wood, kerosene, groceries, just about everything. And plus you do all the housework and the cooking. So it got to her eventually where she just couldn't do it anymore.
And you said your family owned a grocery store and service station. What kind of tasks did you do when you worked there?
Well, my job mostly was the service station. At 10, 11 years old, there was no way, there wasn't too many ways of fixing flats except you have 2 tire tools and a hammer, and I could do that. I could fix a tire in no time because I was strong enough to handle that tire and the 2 tire tools and that hammer, and knew how to take that tube out and put a patch on it and put it all back and put it on the car, which I've been telling my kids also about the way how to fix on bicycle tires, especially my grandsons. Yeah.
And at the grocery store your family owned, what exactly did y'all sell? Could you name some items y'all sold typically?
They do.
Some of the items y'all sold at
it was groceries of all kinds. Yeah, and it's always we had a meat department also that was very famous in that whole neighborhood because we had good meat. My uncles and grandfather used to go out and buy the beef on foot, and then they'd send it to the slaughterhouse, which was down the street from us. And they would prepare it and then they'd bring it back so we could sell it.
And so did your father buy this store, or was it his father that bought this store?
His father bought the store. They bought that land back in about around 1900, and about 1920 or so they opened that store.
And what was the name of the grocery store?
It was Duran's Grocery. Right was our name.
Would you say y'all had a biggest selling item maybe? I know you said the meat was very good for Austin. Was the meat the biggest seller? Or?
Well, the thing about it is, it was just those times you had to have a lot of the bare minimum things like potatoes, rice, eggs, and stuff like that that people could afford to buy. Right, onions and stuff that people could afford to buy and cook without paying too much for it. Beans, yeah, especially beans.
And you said y'all had the best meat and y'all would send it to a slaughterhouse. What kind of meat was it? Was it everything, beef?
Yeah, we had beef and pork. I don't remember having any chicken though, because everybody had a chicken coop in their backyard during those days.
So you worked at the grocery store and the service station. When you were in school, what did you want to be though? Did you have any aspirations or dreams to?
Well, not really, because all I wanted to do was play sports, play ball or whatever. Yeah.
And what was your favorite sport when you were younger?
In high school was football. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite team you liked?
Well, not till afterwards. I really didn't. I really didn't know outside of high school. I didn't know too much about anything else during those days. Too bad that I learned more about it in the older days.
Were you involved in any sports in your high school?
Or? Oh yeah, that was football. Football was.
You were on the football
yeah.
team? What position?
I was. Yeah, I played. I was in the backfield. I wasn't considered to be very big at 140 pounds, but I was fearless. I could go up against any size person or any guy that came up before me. You could be during those days. You had a lot of guys that were over 200 pounds also, and I wasn't afraid to go against them, and that's the reason I say I was fearless, and I didn't know any better for the reason of that.
Did you ever get injured playing football?
No, never got injured.
So in school, were you ever in trouble, or did you ever get in trouble during school?
Not slightly. Sometimes I don't know. I wasn't a bad student to talk back or stuff like that because I had to face consequences at home if I did. So I had to kind of walk a straight line in school.
And in your house, you were bilingual. You spoke English and Spanish. Did you have a primary language y'all spoke at home?
Okay.
When you were at home, would your parents speak to you in English or Spanish?
Oh, it was either way. They could speak fluently English and fluent Spanish. So
Did you, was your first language Spanish or English?
I don't remember.
You
I've always been able to speak English and Spanish.
So now we're just going to kind of go into a few questions more about Austin and you as you grew up. So your nickname is Rabbit. What's the story behind that?
Well, in my neighborhood, there were a lot of guys. In my age group, I could outrun anybody in that neighborhood. At my age, maybe a year or two older, I was able to outrun everybody. And in Austin, Texas, I was probably one of the 10th fastest persons at that time, and in high school. So that's where I got my name mostly.
So do you remember what age you were when they started calling you Rabbit?
I must have been about 8, 10, 12 years old, somewhere down there.
Just stuck from there?
Yeah.
So do you remember the first time you kind of became aware of segregation? I know you said your school was segregated, but was that kind of your first?
Well, I didn't really realize this at the time that I was growing up about segregation when I was young, that what the deal was or anything. But the only thing that I realized that why all the blacks went to one school and all the Mexicans went to another school. It never did dawn on me. We just done it and that was it. And I never thought about why it was segregated. And it was the black thing, and the brown thing.
So did anyone at your school ever question it? Why others were going to different schools?
We didn't know any better, or didn't realize that it was happening. Till years later, then when the movements start coming in, then we really know, hey, what do we do? Things were going on and we didn't know anything about it, or didn't realize that it was going on like that. Till up into the 50s, and that was a long time. Yeah.
So do you remember when you first started getting interested in politics and what kind of sparked your interest in it?
Well, we've always been in politics. My folks, my dad especially, my grandfather, and my uncle, they've always been in politics, and I grew up listening to them talk about different politicians back in the 50s and the 40s or whatever, during the presidential elections and senator elections. And they would always, I always used to hear him talk, said, we be elected all these officials to help us, and all they do is raise our taxes. They raise the taxes and make us pay more insurance. Now, how in the world are they helping us? So they said, we got to vote against this guy, and then I listened, and as I grew up, I used to go to a place named Cisco Bakery, and there was a big political place, and I learned quite a bit there too. And then when we started later on in the years, that's when we really learned. And that's where me and my friend James Ramirez came together politically, and he's a good customer. We learned about politics at that time when then we pushed Bob Perkins to run for JP. That's when that's when the politics really started. When we got Bob Perkins to run for JP. With James Ramirez was he was the chairman of the committee of Bob Perkins.
So your whole family was interested in politics. Growing up, you remember your parents voting?
Yeah, my dad would vote all the time.
Did he ever have any problems actually being able to vote, or did he experience any prejudice?
I don't think so. I don't remember him ever having any problems with voting at that time.
Do you remember when you first voted? Do you remember when you first voted? How old you were? Or?
I don't remember if it was quite young. I don't know if I think I was just out of high school when I don't really remember. It might have been 21 when I was 21. But I've been voting ever since I was 21. I know that much. Yeah.
Did you ever experience any inequality, or did you have any problems when you were trying to vote?
Never had any problem.
Never. So
I don't think they would ever try to keep me from voting because I'm too outspoken. I would have probably if they said anything to tell me about not being able to vote, they would try to put me in jail for talking too much or tell them what I thought about them, which they're just working there anyway, but still I could tell them what I off my head.
So you referred to a lot of movements, and you said you learned a lot at the bakery. What exact movements are you talking about?
Well, the movement about the Latins trying to advance into positions to work at the Capitol, to work in the state, to work in the city, to work in the county. During those years, the county and the city and a lot of the state was all nepotism. And the Mexicans and the blacks, they just couldn't get a job.
So
And the person that done the biggest work in the county and to put the nepotism law into effect there was Richard Moya. He got elected county commissioner. He put a stop to a lot of that.
So you've heard of the economy furniture strike?
Yeah, the economy. That's
What do you recall exactly about that?
well, I don't know too much about the economy strike. Let me put it there. I know about the economy strike. The thing about it was that those people were mostly against each other because some wanted to work and went to work, and others didn't want them to go. So there was a lot of conflict between the people that worked there. I think there was even a killing over that. But that brings us into the Bob Perkins thing. Bob Perkins is white. The opponent for JP was Latin. So there was a big conflict between them people back in a running, and the economy people were back in. Dan Royce? His name was Dan Royce, running against Bob Perkins, which was Latin, and we had Bob Perkins, which is Anglo, but he's so much like a Latiner that you wouldn't believe that he was white, as far as speaking fluent Spanish, singing in Spanish, married a Mexican woman, and all that. He was all hanging out in the neighborhood. So
Yeah, Bob Perkins' 1974 campaign was the first one to use Rabbids as a political headquarters.
right,
correct?
yeah.
So how did that campaign exactly begin?
Well, Bob Perkins had just graduated from law school. And we sat around and said, Bob, you need a job. Why don't you run for JP? He said, how am I going to run? I don't have any money. How do y'all who's going to help us? I said, well, let's try it. Let's see. So we got him to apply for it. And that's when James, myself, a guy by the name of Robert Moreno, and there's a bunch of others that we decided that we could do it. I went to a few lawyers that I knew and asked them. One was an older lawyer, was really influential in Austin, Texas. I went to him. He said, Rabbit, I don't think you can do it. this guy, I don't think he's too green. He's just out of law school, and I don't think he can do the job. I said, well, okay, thank you. But he said, you know what? Being your friend, I'm going to donate the money that you want. I said, okay. So he gave me the money for the campaign, and we done that with Cisco Bakery, Rudy Cisneros. He gave us a little bit of money, and he helped us a lot. Roy Velasquez, the owner of Roy's Cab at that time, he helped us. And Charles Villaseñor, the owner of Mission Funeral Home, he helped us. You know, they weren't involved with the campaign, but they helped us anyway because they were friends, you know. And we worked our butt off, you know, in that campaign. And Robert Moreno, he was our sign man. He put up signs, and the other campaign would tear them down. So he would go out the next night and tear their signs down. He got caught by the police tearing them signs down, and they asked him what he was doing. He said, I'm just taking down signs. They didn't tell him why or not, but when they opened the trunk, he had a trunk full of their signs. But they couldn't do anything because they couldn't prove that he stole them or anything. So, but he was our sign man. He put them up, they tear them down. He'd tear theirs down the next night. There it went.
So what did you see in Bob Perkins about why he'd be a strong candidate?
Well, he wasn't a strong candidate. He was under our jurisdiction, thinking that we knew that what we were doing and something that we decided we could do. And we were thought of as softball players and drinkers and what have you. They said, hey, those guys can't do nothing, so we thought out to prove it. And from that, we learned so much that James went on to manage Bob Bullock's campaign and Jake Pickles' campaign off of that experience that we had with Bob Perkins.
So we're going to talk a little bit about Rabbids Lounge. You could have opened any type of business or store. I mean, your family had a grocery store. Why exactly did you want to open a bar, or what started that?
Well, the opportunity arose at the time. I was there at Cisco Bakery, you know, and that little, it's a small place, and it came available, and I asked Rudy, could I rent it from him? He said, yeah, go ahead and start running it. So I started, and it started growing. And after it grew a little bit, the opportunity to buy Rabbids Lounge, I did that, and I moved over there in 1969. I had started in 1967, and in '69 I moved to the corner of 6th and Chicano, and ever since then till now it's still there. Even the new bar is still there, and they're doing a lot of good business.
So just to clarify, your first location of Rabbids Lounge was based in Cisco's Bakery?
Yeah. And at that time we had lots of softball in Austin, Texas. We had a lot of teams on the east side, and they were all Latin, and Rabbids was one of the only places to drink at. So I had all that business, and that's how I made it grow. And I got to know a lot of people, and all those people helped me in the politics.
Okay, could you just elaborate and tell us a little bit more about how softball was involved in all of this?
Well, all the softball players they were all high school people. They're educated, some were college. And there were so many that they could help do anything. Some of them drew signs. We had artists to draw signs. We had artists to write letters. We had people that could talk good, and go into the neighbors and talk to the people about voting. and voting for the people that we were supporting. But the softball was big, big, big. That I say the softball was what made all the Rabbids Lounge. I had all the teams in Austin, Rabbids Lounge.
So why was softball such a big deal?
It was a good game. It's a very good game, and it was very competitive.
So I read somewhere that you bought the space for Rabbids Lounge for about $14,000.
Some of y'all.
Was that a lot of money at this time, or
Well, it was quite a bit.
do you feel like you kind of took a gamble putting that much money into something and you weren't sure?
Well, no, it was no gamble at all because my 50-cent beer was already thriving.
How's that?
Well, the 50-cent beer, I was selling a lot of beer.
Would you say beer was pretty much the most popular drink?
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, beer was that was a drink at that time. Beer, cold beer. Yeah.
So how did Rabbids become kind of the place for Mexican American movers and shakers and politicians and?
Well, the politicians done it too. Also, they a lot of the politicians started coming to ask for help. They would bring their friends. They would bring their supporters, and it just grew and grew and grew till there it was. Now there's the political place of Austin. Everybody got to go there to see about getting some help, and they did, and that's how it just got started. It got started. It bloomed.
Was everyone welcome at Rabbids Lounge, or were there certain people or things you?
No, everybody was welcome, and everybody's treated right. Yeah, including the gays.
Was that kind of controversial at the time?
We didn't have very many during, but we had some. But we didn't bother nobody. Yeah.
So could you kind of take me back to 1969 and just describe what a day in Rabbids Lounge is like, and kind of walk me through what your day-to-day routine was?
Well, the thing about it, Rabbids Lounge opened like at 8 o'clock in the morning. I had all the construction workers that didn't work the day, or if it was raining or stuff, they didn't work, so they came. And some of the guys that didn't work at all, they came at 8 o'clock in the morning. And they stayed there till 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock, and then they changed shifts. 5 o'clock, a different crowd came in from the state workers and what have you. And then at 8 o'clock, I had another group of people come. So it was all the time. Somebody like shift work. Yeah, every day. All these people would come to Rabbids. And we had a lot of these people would help with all our fundraisers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Did you have a lot of employees at Rabbids Lounge, or did you?
No,
kind of
we
run
only
it
had
yourself?
it was myself and one other all the time.
Who was the one other?
Well, I've had a lot of different ones, but it started out with a gentleman named Johnny Lopez, and I had another one named Edward Cantu, and then the latest one that stayed with me up till now is named Ruben Torres. He's been with me for years, and is still a good friend, and we drink beer together, stuff.
So beer seems to be the drink of choice at Rabbids Lounge, but were there other drinks available, or did you just pretty much?
That's all. Not unless you brought your own hard liquor or whatever. And we done a lot of that too.
Did you have multiple types of beer, or did you just have one you always sold?
No, we had multiple for a long time. Then one time, for 10 years, I was mad at Budweiser because they wouldn't help the community or support any of the softball, baseball, or little league in the community. So I cut them off from selling Budweiser for 10 years. Finally, they decided they wanted to do something.
Was your bar the only one that kind of protested and boycotted them, or did other bars also?
Well, no, I didn't get no support from other bars because they didn't want to lose any business. I was the only one. I asked them though, but they never did support me. Uh, but just with my little thing that I done, and I gave them a lot of problems with it.
So if you opened at 8 a.m. in the morning and you had a lot of construction workers and stuff come, were they drinking beer and things like that at
Oh
8
yeah,
a.m.?
they're drinking beer. Yes, they're some of our best drinkers in construction work, and some of them drank. Some of them construction workers, they were still with me when I closed a year ago. They were still drinking beer. Of course, I didn't open at 8 a.m. anymore. I'll get up to 12 o'clock.
So, did y'all have like a jukebox, or did y'all have any kind of music y'all would listen to?
Just
or
a
did y'all watch
jukebox.
the news? The jukebox?
And I still have one of my old jukeboxes in the garage, and I'll turn it on for all the neighbors to hear.
What was the most popular type of music y'all would listen to on it?
All Mexican.
All Mexican music?
Conjunto. And you know, Conjunto's quite popular now, too. You go to the White Horse on Sunday, boy, they play that Conjunto music.
What is
You go to the, and boy, and everybody in there knows how to dance that stuff. I don't care whether they're black, white, or blue. They dance that stuff, boy.
What is conjunto?
The
Really?
accordion type thing.
Wow. And that was in the jukebox. What other kind of music did y'all offer with that? In addition to like the Mexican music, what other kind of music?
Oh, we had all kinds of music, but that Mexican music was our most popular, and that's the majority. That
So, Rabbids Lounge, could you kind of explain the setup to me? Were there multiple rooms, or was it just kind of a one
just
room?
one big old long room and a bathroom. It used to be, well, when I started, it was just one big old long room, one bathroom. But then later on, I added I added a little bit addition and made the two bathrooms.
So, what all did running this bar require of you? I mean, obviously you had to get up early and stay late.
Stay there, that's it. 12 o'clock every day.
So, you originally started in the bakery's location, and then you later moved to East Side. What was the motivation for that move?
Well, I think it was more of an opportunity to expand a little bit more than anything else. I figured I needed more room and parking, and I had that right there. So I had the following. I didn't have to worry about competition at that time. So
Did all of your customers support your
yes,
idea to move?
yeah.
And so you were a bar owner for over 40 years. You've lived in Austin your whole life. How had the times kind of changed from when you first opened the bar? Have you seen a change in Austin?
Well, the changes mostly were in the neighborhoods. You know, I don't know exactly, maybe 10 years ago, people wouldn't even cross I-35 into East Austin. That was the borderline. Don't go past because East Austin is bad. Then about 10 years ago, it started coming little by little, little by little. And finally, now you can't get nobody out of East Austin. Everybody wants to live in East Austin. And it's really sad. I said, even where I used to live and where my stuff was at my store and everything, family lived and friends and neighbors and the blacks that I knew and everything, they're all moved out. It's been rebuilt, everything. I tell some people, I said, man, it makes me want to cry to get up there to see all that stuff in East Austin now. Nothing but mud streets. The streets were all mud. Now they're all paved and nice houses and everything. So it's a change. It's a big change. You couldn't walk You couldn't even walk in those neighborhoods at night. It was so dangerous with people that were robbing and raping and what have you. Yeah.
Did anything ever happen at your bar? Were you ever robbed or?
Yes, I was robbed one time.
What did they take?
They took all my money.
Do you know how much money it was, or?
Not really. It was quite a bit.
So you said that everyone's allowed at.
But I can't tell you what happened to those people that robbed me. No.
How exactly did the robbery happen? Were there?
Well, it was nobody around. It was early Sunday. I came in, and the phone was ringing, and I went to the phone. I left the keys in the lock, but I didn't turn it. When I got off the phone and went, there were three guys there with guns, and one of them put one to my head on one side, and the other one put the gun to the other side. I said, "Don't do nothing, don't say nothing." So there's nothing I could do, you know.
I know church is very big to you, and you said this happened early on a Sunday morning. Did you still open at 8 on Sundays?
No, it was 12 o'clock. I had just been there to maybe clean up and stuff like that. That's it. Yeah.
So after they robbed you, did you report it to the police, or did you take any?
Yeah, they thought they could. They didn't. They about knew, but they said they couldn't prove nothing, so we'd have to just let it ride till I took care of it myself.
Being robbed and losing all your money.
And one of the policemen told me, said, "Rabbit, you know those guys that robbed you, we think that they robbed you. Said we can't do too much with them because we can't prove anything. But if we find them anywhere dead, don't worry about it."
So what happened in the end? You just lost the money, and
I just lost the money. Yeah, I lost the money.
What happened to the guys?
Had to work a little bit harder to make more.
And the guys, you never heard about them, or?
No, not really.
You just made off with your money? So, nothing happened to the guys, and they made off with your money. Are you sure nothing else happened, or you didn't know the guys at all, or?
Not for that. I mean, not during that. Not for. What are you talking about? What happened to after that? Because they took my money. That was it. That was the end of that part. Now the other part, I can't tell you nothing about. That's it.
Okay, so you said that everybody was welcome at your bar and you didn't exclude anyone. During that time, were a lot of other bars segregated, or did they?
No, there were several other bars. But it seemed like, but a lot of there was kind of a segregated thing as far as the bars were concerned too. But like all the blacks on 12th Street and 11th Street and Rosewood. But a lot of the people would go that weren't afraid because Rosewood had all the good music. And even one of our old football players, you could, back in the 50s or whatever, used to be up there all the time too. His name was Bobby Lane. He was a great quarterback for the University of Texas. And he used to patronize those places up there because he loved that music. And there was a small bar right across from Rabbids named Barlow Ross that was patronized by mostly white people because at that time those white people worked for the railroad, and the railroad only hired white people at that time, and it was segregated. And then now, if you ever heard about Another place for a railroad place and white people would go was a scoot in. I don't know if you scoot in is it's a big place right now. It's popular. I understand they had several thousand people around there over the South by Southwest. And that was about the only two in East Austin that were white, patronized by white only, but all the rest of them were mostly Mexican people or Latin Americans.
So didn't Bob Perkins have his campaign in Rabbids Lounge?
Yes.
And out of all your customers, did you have a very diverse customer base, or did you have was your customer base mainly minorities, or, I mean, I know you said a lot of softball players and construction workers and stuff. Did you have like a target range of customers?
Went where?
Did you have a certain, did you have a very diverse customer base at Rabbids Lounge, or?
A base? No. Everybody was equal the same. All the softball players and stuff.
And so, Rabbids Lounge, like you said, for Bob Perkins' campaign, was the headquarters. Can you kind of explain what it means, the term headquarters? And
well, headquarters where everything occurs. We had you paint the signs, create the signs, phone calls, all the phone business is done out. Well, I had an upstairs at Rabbids Lounge that we could do all that work. We had a desk and phones and materials to paint with and color with and materials to make signs and people to have a meeting. It was about 2 or 3 people to operating all the time for Bob Perkins. They were all these people. They came to help, just to help. Nobody got paid because we didn't have any money to pay them. Even James, James, he never got paid till he went to work for Jake Pickle and then.
So was mainly the upstairs the headquarters area?
Yeah.
That's where it all went down?
Yep.
Why do you think that Rabbids Lounge was so successful as a backdrop for politics?
Because of all of our good people. We had a lot of good people with a lot of good faith, honest. What else? The thing, they were all good people. They came to help at all times.
So, was there a candidate that you maybe felt closest to or that you aligned with the most while at Rabbids Lounge?
Well, mostly, I would say Gonzalo Barrientos. We worked for him for years, even before Rabbids Lounge. We started with him in like 72, something more in there, or maybe before 72. Yeah, but he.
Why do you feel closest to him, or what?
Well, he's the one that's always stayed with us. He was a customer, a good customer. He brought a lot of interested people to Rabbids Lounge from all over the world. Ireland, Germany, a lot from Mexico. The most interested people he brought was, I think it was 2 or 3 guys from Russia that were KGBs. They came in there like they were bulls or something, throwing their weight around or something, and pretty soon they learned that they wasn't going to be able to throw their weight around too much because everybody started fighting back. So they held back. They started pulling back from what their dilemma or whatever it was.
Where did he meet all of these interesting people from, or how did he know these people?
Gonzalo knew them from they came to visit the capital, or they came to and evidently everybody that came to him. We had a lot of people from Ireland, Germany. We had people from everywhere to come to Rabbids.
So why do you think so many people trust your endorsement and judgment of certain candidates, and why is your view held so highly?
Well, a lot of them, you take a lot of the candidates, the first people that engaged to come help were their family, their brothers, sisters, in-laws, outlaws, or whatever. They they solicit them to come help, and then from there they go. And a lot of them have enough money to do a lot of things to buy what they need for the people to do, or to do the work they need to do. Instead of them doing it, they can delegate the work to them.
So would people often turn to you and ask for your advice, and you would give them advice about?
Well, they didn't ask for a lot of advice. What they asked for is for the help of us, helping them walk the streets, put up signs, stuff like that. Talk to people that they wanted to engage or help. If they used to come to me and say, "Rabbit, I need you to talk to certain lawyers that you know, or certain people in the community." That's mostly what was going on. Yeah.
And were you mainly willing to help everyone, or were there any?
No, not everyone. I couldn't do it to everyone. And some of them, the way they talk, I didn't like them right away. I didn't tell them though, but they knew what I was coming from. Yeah.
Can you give me some examples of people that might have been, or what if you didn't support their platforms, or?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of them that I knew, that especially judges, some of the judges that were up for re-election, that I knew that they didn't have good demeanor or something like that. But anyway, this one judge, they called me for jury duty 3 times in a row. The third time I told that judge that I knew, I told him, "Hey, I need to get off this thing. I've been here too many times." He said, "I don't think I can let you off, Rabbit." I said, "Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to work against you in your election." He said, "Don't threaten me." I said, "I ain't threatening you. I'm just telling you." And sure enough, I worked against him, and he didn't get elected. I ain't never seen him again.
So,
But I don't think it was me that done it, but he didn't get elected anyway.
So out of Rabbids Lounge, what would you say the greatest achievement to come was? What do you think the greatest achievement out of Rabbids Lounge was?
The greatest what?
Achievement? The best thing to happen out of Rabbids Lounge?
Oh, we had a lot of good achievements, the best thing, but yeah, no, it's some of the fundraisers we had that, I don't know if you want to, that we enjoyed doing to get to a pedestal that we were at. The people, one person needed an eye. We helped him get an eye, or a false guy didn't have no arms. We helped him get arms. It was just different things that people that needed wheelchairs, we helped them get wheelchairs. As a matter of fact, we got a wonderful wheelchair for a friend of ours that did a lot of help for us, which is Robert Moreno. You got diabetes and you get legs cut off, so we got him a wheelchair. And he just lived a half block down the street, so we got him a wheelchair so he could come drink beer at the place.
What if you're fundraising until, would y'all sell something?
Yeah, we used to. Well, we started most of the fundraisers in East Austin during those years. At about, we had one of the first fish fries as fundraisers in Austin that created by one of our friends named Charles Villaseñor. He was the one that introduced us to that, because he had friends, a friend named Jimmy Mosley that owned G&M Catering, and he helped us with all his equipment. We done all the work in frying the fish, and he showed us how to fry the fish. I mean, how to bread it, and how to fry it, and how to serve it, and what to serve with it. And we done that for the church. Then we had people. We done we cooked or barbecued a lot of chicken, a lot of brisket, a lot of sausage, and a lot of times, most of all this fundraisers, we contribute the food and the service for this people. We didn't just have a fundraiser. They bring everything and whatever. No, I said we done everything. We served it. We bought it, and we cooked it. And they don't do that no more. Everybody's they have to buy their own stuff and whatever.
When y'all were having fundraisers, how would you get the word out about it? Would you just
We used to sell tickets mostly. And then we'd have girls like me standing on the corner with signs and stuff. But we had a lot of good word of mouth thing too. They knew that we were good cooks.
Did any of the local newspapers or media, did they kind of shed a light on the fundraisers? Or?
Sometimes they did, and on some fundraisers they did, but not all of them. Just
So, what do you think is the greatest achievement to come out of the Chicano politics movement?
Well, we had several. I don't know. The thing was that it was achieved. Of course, Gonzalo being elected as a state senator. John Trevino elected as one of our candidates, elected as a city councilman. And then we had Richard Moya, Margaret Gomez. This is all Rabbids. This is all the Rabbids people. And of course, Mike Guerrero didn't win, but he ran for state rep. Then we have the two ladies that work in the state, the county controller, and the elections officials. Them two ladies there. I don't remember what their name are, but I know who they are. Yeah, and we helped them. They were out of Rabbids.
Well, it seems like Rabbids has helped a lot of campaigns and successful wins for these candidates. And I know that Bob Perkins won in 1974, and I heard that there was some kind of scuffle the night he won. Could you kind of?
Well, that was one of the first things that I was telling you for, because there were that economy strikers, and us ball players or softball players and stuff, and state workers or whatever. Well, anyway, the scuffle happened after the election. Bob got elected, and I don't know how these people who sends them, maybe the candidate, or maybe they just did it on their own. They attacked Rabbids Lounge. Of course, we had enough people there to attack back, and it was a big scuffle.
So when you say attack, were they was it physical, punching, or?
They were baseball bats and sticks and stones and all kind of stuff thrown. We had one guy with I don't know where he got that big old stick. He cleaned out 3 or 4 or 5 guys with that stick. There were others that were stood up to him, fist to fist. There was a lot of, but everybody, when it cleared out, there was nobody on the ground, and the police weren't there or nothing. Bob Perkins arrived from accepting the nomination type thing or whatever. He came and said, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, nothing." Everything had already gone. Everything had vanished.
Did it just kind of escalate and then everyone left, or?
Yeah, it's escalated for few about 30, 40 minutes maybe. It was rough. Yeah.
But so during that time, no one got injured, or
We don't know.
did it all kind of?
They were taken away. They picked them up and took them, well, I guess, with them or whatever. I don't know what.
Was that kind of the worst, I guess, scuffle or like fight you saw break out at Rabbids Lounge?
Yeah, well, they didn't break. They came for that. One of my friends, guy came in and they were cool when they came in, but then one of my friends bought one of them a beer, and after he bought the beer, he socked him. That way it started going all the way through.
So once Perkins won, was there still such a? I know a lot of people weren't fond of him because he wasn't Hispanic. Was there still kind of that?
Oh yeah, it's always been like that. And as a matter of fact, for that same reason there, I never supported the people that were involved in that for whatever they done. I don't care if it was a community work, another candidate, or whatever. I never supported them. And they knew it too. They said, "Don't go ask Rabbit because he's not going to do anything for you," because of that one incident.
But overall, you would definitely say you were a big supporter of Bob Perkins and what he stood for.
Oh yeah. After that, even to this day, everybody likes him. Oh, he's liked everywhere.
Do you tend to stay in contact with people like Bob and other candidates that you had at Rabbids Lounge? Are y'all still?
Yeah, we still. As a matter of fact, I'm his son's godfather.
Really? So I read that Rabbids Lounge used to have biennial celebrations at the end of the legislative session. What were those celebrations like?
Oh, they're big, 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 big. We had all the Democrats. We didn't have many Republicans. They went to the big hotels.
What would y'all do? Like, just drink or?
Oh yeah, we got a lot of music, a lot of food, a lot of drink. People, some of the legislature would send different kind of foods, different kind of beverages. It was a big, big. Everybody, mostly Democrats, that came to the place to celebrate.
What kind of music would y'all be listening to?
Oh, we had good hot music. We got Mexican music of times, and then we changed it to different.
And you said a lot of food. Can you recall some of?
They had good food they sent from the hotels and stuff. Yeah, very good. And it seemed like everybody came hungry too, because they knock it out. Everything was gone by the time it's over. They had all the beer they could drink, bought by the. What you call those guys that pay money for the
lobbyists.
what?
Lobbyists.
Lobbyists. It was all paid by the lobbyists.
So,
They were paid all by the lobbyists with American money.
would you feel like Rabbids Lounge got busiest on these nights then, with all the food and the drinks and the music? Did
Yeah.
it bring in a huge crowd
Yeah.
compared to normal? Was the crowd bigger on these nights than normal, or?
Oh no, but we've had crowds that big before, but that was a good crowd because it was good for the business. Yeah. The biggest crowds were on my birthday.
What did they do on your birthday?
Oh man, we got big crowds that do a lot of everything. Everything, but a lot of dancing, but no romancing. So.
Was it everyone would kind of surprise you, or just?
No, everybody in town knew about the birthday, so they all May the 18th. They knew that was going to be a big shindig, so they were all there. It was really something. Up until last year, as the last one, I didn't think I was going to have another one.
Is there a certain birthday that you had there that sticks out to you maybe the most, or?
No, I had a lot of birthdays, but not like mine. They were all kind of they were laid back a little bit.
So, on the side of Rabbids Lounge, on the exterior wall, there's a mural of Cesar Chavez, and he came in support of the strikers during the furniture strike. He's a huge supporter of the minorities. Was it your idea to get the mural on the wall, or was it already there?
No, I had it put on there.
How much did you pay for it?
I didn't pay anything. Francisco done it on the house.
Really?
Francisco does all the murals in Austin, just about in Austin.
And did you just go to him with the idea, or?
No, he done it on his own.
Yeah. So,
Well, he asked me could he do it, and I told him, yeah, it was fine.
do you remember when it was added? Like what year? Or?
That's been, I don't know, Ryan, about 5 years, 10 years,
5, give or take.
about 5 years ago, I think.
So, what exactly did Cesar Chavez symbolize to you? Was there a strong alliance, like you kind of felt with him, or?
Well, the only thing that I feel on Cesar Chavez is the way he helped the fruit people and growers, not the growers, the people that work those farms in California at them low wages, and he's the way he came out and supported the farm workers to get better pay.
Were there any other murals you wanted to add, or you ever considered adding?
No, and that's it.
So,
Except for that lady. You seen the lady on my wall?
no, what about that?
She was painted on there by a lady from California that's been painting those nationwide. And she's, it's an ugly lady, too. Hey, Ryan, what is that word I can't, eccentric? What is it, that word?
Eccentric?
Eccentric, but that she painted then in honor of a eccentric woman?
Eccentric.
Eccentric woman.
What did it look like? Just big and?
It was a big old ugly picture.
Yeah.
and the lady called me, wanted to tell me how I got that mural painted that looked like her sister. I said, God damn, she's ugly.
I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah.
So, after
You go by and see that mural. Maybe you can go in and Creighton give you a drink, tell him Rabbids sent you.
see that.
Creighton is the owner of that bar, the business.
He took it over after you?
Yeah.
So you sold it after 40 years. Why did you decide to sell it? Just
Because I'll be 81 May the 18th.
too much?
Done got too old for it.
I'm sure you received a lot of pressure, though, to stay open.
Oh, yeah. Everybody wanted to stay open, but I just couldn't do it.
Did you consider leaving it to any family members, or was there anyone else you would have wanted to leave it with?
No.
And so did you know the person who bought it? You said Creighton. Is he like a family friend maybe, or you?
No, he's just somebody that wanted it and was able to pay the money that I wanted.
How much did you ask for it?
A lot of money.
A lot of money? Are we going to get a real number?
No, I can't give you. I tell you what, it's almost as much as I paid for it a month.
So is it still a kind of bar, or did?
Oh, it's a big bar. It's a big open bar. Oh, it's a good. He spent over $200,000 remodeling it.
Do you ever visit there?
Yes.
How often would you say you go?
I'd say at least once a month.
Once a month. Does he recognize you when he walks in? Just kind
Oh yeah, he does. But the people there, a lot of the workers, they change all the time in bars and stuff. They'll come in and ask me if they can help me or something. I said, yeah, I'll come down here to see if y'all messing up my business, or my property. They look at me and say, I'm the landlord. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Shit. Can I buy you a beer or drink or something,
Did you save any mementos, or is there anything you took from Rabbids Lounge with you to keep, or?
What?
Did you keep anything from Rabbids
I
Lounge?
got a lot of junk.
A lot of.
Right, put it all up.
What are some of your favorite items that you got?
I'm not into keeping junk. Right? When did I keep it? It's just right. I don't have anything favorite. I just.
Just a jukebox.
I got my jukebox though, 'cause I got them records in it.
You still play it a lot, or
Yeah, I play it once in a while. I got to put it out there and jam.
what do you like to jam to?
Yeah.
Are there any favorite songs you like?
Oh yeah, I got that one wild song called La Charanga. Oh man, that's a wild one. You can shake
the
and
most played?
you can shake and shake as much as you want to with that.
Any
Those
other songs?
those guys those people that what do they exercise to? La rumba,
Yeah.
the exercise to on TV.
Zumba? Oh yeah.
So well, it's more than that. I think
Your workout
yeah,
plan?
got more rhythm than that.
So you didn't just. Did you sell the area of Rabbids Lounge, or are you just leasing it out?
I leased it out.
Leased it
Yeah.
out. So since you have leased it and you're not having to go in every day, how do you spend your days? Do you just?
Oh, I still do. I'm still a night person. I go to the east side every night,
Really?
talk to people, visit, what have you. Like during the day, sometime I go down to Estrada Cleaners, a friend of mine, and then I'll stay there and visit with him. Yeah. He's a great political person also, and I've known him for a long time. Yeah, we do. We go together to the gambling places in Louisiana and Las Vegas and places like that.
So you go to East Side at night. What do you do during the day other than visit with the
Not
friends?
much. Sometimes I go walk. I walk a little bit. Go to the malls and stuff, and walk and look and stuff. So
So in 2011, the Texas House Bill H.R. 2702 was passed in honor of you and the impact Rabbids Lounge had on Austin. How did you find out you were receiving that?
well, Yolanda Velasquez works for Kirk Watson, and she's the one that instrumental in that. And she's the one that told Ryan and
How did you celebrate that? I mean, that's a huge milestone. What does that bill mean to you?
I don't know. It is. I don't know. I've had a. I can't really explain it. It just made me proud that somebody knows me.
Would you say that, I mean, you've had so many candidates and political leaders come out of Rabbids Lounge. You have a bill in honor of you. What would you say is your greatest achievement that you've had over your lifetime?
Into that. In the politics or.
Just overall, is there, I mean, you've had Rabbids Lounge, but is there something more than just Rabbids Lounge? Like, what is your kind of greatest achievement you feel you've had?
Yes, I've had so many. It's just hard to say which exactly is the main one. Yeah. But I've been proud to serve the community in a way to families that needed the help. I wrote a memory on Christmas to the statement, though that it wasn't published, but I want to tell you about that memory. This lady came into the place and said, "Rabbit, you don't owe me, but when I was a little bitty girl, you came to my house on Christmas with all those bags of groceries and toys for me, and my brothers and sisters when my dad was sick. I started back and back and back, and then I remember who that guy was. He had been very sick. He worked for the city, and he needed the help. So at the place, we got together. We got a little bit of money. We went to the H-E-B and bought all them groceries and took it to him. And she said, I want to thank you. This must have been 20 years ago. And that really, really made me proud. I said, wow, I can't believe this is happening after all these years. Anyway, I want to tell you a funny story about that too. During that time, it was Christmas, and we decided on that family first. But one guy said, Rabbit, he said, this guy down on Santa Rosa has 18 kids, and I think we might be able to help him. But in the meantime, we decided, I had already decided on that guy. But in the meantime, one of the guys said, you know what, Rabbit? That guy ain't never been in the doghouse. That's it. He had 18 kids, never been in the doghouse. So somebody in the crowd said he ain't never been in the doghouse. I said, wow, that's a good guy. But that Christmas story is the one that I really, boy, it was really made me feel great. But after about 15, 20 years, I still have that story, don't I, somewhere, right?
And now they do too.
Huh? Yeah.
With all the fundraising, it seems you've done some amazing things.
We done a lot, and we paid for the fundraisers too. We didn't just have them.
So you were also in the Navy for a total of 8 years, correct?
Yeah. I was 4 years, 4 years regular Navy and 4 years reserve. 8 years.
Do you remember what age you started at? Or?
I started out like I was barely 19, I think it was.
And were you drafted? Or
No, I volunteered.
Did your family support you volunteering?
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk about your experience or some of the hardships?
Well, I had a lot of experience, as a young man. When you're young like that everything is amazing to you, and you don't have no sense of value of money or anything. So I think I was making like $75 a month, but that was enough money to do just about anything that you wanted to. You could visit. I was on an aircraft carrier. We used to go out to sea from a month to 2 months. So when we came back, we had maybe $200 or $300 in our pocket. So when we hit Japan, we could go out and have a good time. We hit Hong Kong, China, we had a good time. Philippines, and especially in Hawaii. Oh, Hawaii was one of our best ports. We went out on that white sand quite a few times.
Did a lot of your friends from Austin also volunteer with you?
There was like maybe 4 or 5 of us of the same group that hang around together that went to the Navy at the same time. And we were all, of course, none of us got on the same ship or the same territory. Everybody was on the same different ship. Yeah.
So, do you stay in contact with anyone from the
Well,
Navy?
there's only 2 left, 2 others left. Yeah. And one of them is very sick right now, which I'm going to go see later on today. That I have a picture that when we were kids. You want to see that picture?
I do want to see it.
When I was a kid. Can I move?
Oh.
Where's Ryan? Hey, Ryan. What are you? Ryan.
name of your destroyer? Maybe? The name of your destroyer?
It wasn't a destroyer, it's an aircraft carrier.
What was its name?
USS Oriskany. The aircraft carriers are named after famous battles in the Civil War. And this was named for a famous battle in New York named Oriskany. It's a CVA-34, which one of the larger aircraft carriers at that time. So it was a big ship. We had a few encounters with MiGs, Russian MiGs, off the coast of Korea.
Did you ever fear for your life? Or
That's one thing I tell people now, that when I was on that ship at that age, you know, I think what could have happened if that ship had been hit, or you know, different things like that. I said, what the hell if I'd have done if the ship had been sinking or something? I said, man, at that age, you're not scared of nothing. You know, I was just out there. What is that? One of those MiGs that crashed into our ship or something. You know, just you don't ever think about stuff like that when you're young. You're just going.
very true.
Get that picture I have on the.
Put it in here?
Yeah, I'll put it on the table. It should be right on top, right, didn't it? Or did I leave it over here? I don't know where. What was the next one? Oh, this is right at the end of high school. That's me standing on the back. And that's my 48 Ford convertible. This guy right here is a very good friend of mine. That was the only two left, and this one's very sick. They were all Navy men.
So you said you had a grandfather that fought in the Civil War?
He fought in the Civil War and was discharged at the age of 21 in 1863, I think it was, somewhere in there.
Were you close to your grandparents? Were they also in Austin?
They were between here and Dripping Springs, in this area.
What was your grandfather's name?
That was my great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather?
My grandfather was named like me, Rosalio.
What was your great-grandfather's name?
Ezekiel. His name was like my father. Yeah.
And so, just a few closing questions. Some people might be surprised that you live in Terrytown, which is kind of one of the more elite and expensive areas in Austin, as opposed to Rabbids Lounge, which was on the east side. It's almost kind of like two different worlds.
Right.
How do you view that?
The thing about this, I've often been asked how. He said, you don't have that kind of money to live in Terrytown, Rabbit. I said, well, I don't have the money, but I have some luck. Back in 1972 or whatever it was, this guy was moving to Dallas and he needed money right away. He needed $24,000, and I was able to get $24,000 to pay him to give it out. And that's how I got this place. This guy offered me $700 already for this lot. The house is going to be destroyed, but the land the land this house is on is worth that much. And a lot of people are surprised that I live in Terrytown. But I said, two things good I done in my life was buy Rabbids Lounge, or that land, and buy this one. I bought that land from C.B. Smith. He was a big car dealer, VW, Volkswagen car dealer in Austin. Of course, he had land everywhere, and I understand that he sold IBM that land when IBM came in also. And he was quite a man.
Was he using that land for anything or just selling it? Was he using that land for anything?
Oh no, he was just an investor type person. Yeah.
Good investment.
Yeah.
So, looking back, how do you wish to be described or viewed by others? How do you wish to be described or viewed by others? If there's kind of like a footprint you could leave behind, how would you want others to remember you by?
I don't know. How would I want to leave?
How would you want to be remembered by people?
Rabbit. I'm gonna have it put on my tombstone. Rabbit.
That's what everyone knows you for. You are a rabbit.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I started a little thing about naming one of the streets for me a while back, but I think it died down or something. But what I really want to do, I think I want to. There's a short street over there where in my old neighborhood that I think I would like to have my last name put on there, not me for the family, the Duran Street. It runs. I don't think it runs that far, but I think I would like to have that one. And if Martinez gets elected mayor, maybe I can still do it. I'll promote it. I'll have somebody that can, especially if he gets elected mayor, or there's got to be another Latin elected into that city council now that we're going to have like 12. So that's what I like. I would like one of the streets in Austin to be named Duran. And that's the song it is. Yes, sir. I'll be. Oh yeah, I'll be at Bob's at about 5 o'clock. Bueno.
okay, and just kind of rounding it out, why do you think it's important for minorities to vote and just people to vote in general? You know, you're such a big advocate for campaigning and headquartering and voting. Why do you think it's important?
They need to have somebody in those offices that they can trust, but nobody none of them can be trusted. They're still going to raise your taxes and you're insured. That's my worst thing to talk about. The people that get elected to the legislature, or lawyers that make all them damn laws against you, and the insurance people that get elected to. Why do they want to elect insurance people and lawyers to the legislature? That's not right. I don't think it is, but people do it, and they do it all at every election. Lawyers, insurance people, very, very rich people, like Drew Hurst. You a Republican?
No.
Drew Hurst and Pleasant. Those people are, and they don't want to get out. They just want to stay all the time.
Well, great. Those are all the questions I have. Is there anything else you want to add or mention?
No, I'd like to. Maybe you can ask James Ramirez about the campaign. Bob, he knows quite a bit, and ask him about Lloyd Doggett and what was the other one, James?
We'll do
Look,
those on another.
huh?
We'll do those on another day, Mr. Duran.
Huh?
We're gonna do a separate interview. With
Yeah, he doesn't really have time, though. That's the only thing bad about James. That's the reason I called him. He don't have time.
We'll work on this
He was
schedule.
always so busy.
Could I get you holding the picture for the camera? Maybe like holding it up, but hey, you give it to Rabbit and he can hold it?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I got some other pictures and stuff you can look at too that I want you to look at.
There you go. There you go. Okay, thank you. Let me take a picture.
That's one of the reasons I called him, because he also called him too,
Yeah.
to interview him. So I figured that he's got probably most of the same stuff I got, and you could probably take advantage of it now while you're here and set it up.
Take this pen from me. Okay.
Well, it takes-
Especially Bob Bullock
we definitely want to get him interviewed.
and Bob Perkins and some of the stuff that he knows a lot about.
Yeah, we definitely.
Thank you. Yeah, can I get one like you like that? Here, put it like maybe like that. Let's see. Move it down a little bit. Thank you. One, two,
Smile.
three. Let me get another more. Great. Thank you.
Got